Okay, good afternoon. Sorry for the delay, folks. Technology, This is the City of Liberty Lake Parks and Arts Commission. Today is Monday, August 5th. It's approximately 4:05 p.m. My name is Nancy Hill, and we'll get right into the agenda. First, we'll do the roll call. Nancy Hill, present. David Heimbaugh.
Present.
Laura Frank.
Present.
Katie Ferris.
Present.
John Bear.
Present.
Noel Oderson Laparco.
Present.
Bob Schneidmiller. Joni Hay. Joni's online? No. Please show Joni is absent. Our student commissioner, Audrey White, was approved by the council at the last meeting. Because she is a student, she's not available this summer, so she'll be starting in September. So we'll just excuse her until then. We just wanted to add her to the agenda so we know she's coming, but she should be at our September meeting. Now we move to the approval of the July 1st, 2024 minutes, which are the first part of your packet. If you could take a look at those, and if there are no edits or changes, I'll need a motion to approve.
I'll motion to approve.
I second that.
It's been moved and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
Opposed? All right, please show the minutes are approved as written. We'll arrived at our citizen comment portion of the evening. Do we have any citizen comments? Mr. Saba. Want to state your name for the record, please?
Your name?
My name?
Mark Saba. I am a resident of Liberty Lake. And the reason why I'm speaking today is that action item number 1 regards to Winter Glow. I'm on the board of directors of Winter Glow. With I guess the ask is here is for you to approve the monies that the city always gives us every year to be the corporate sponsor before we pass it on to city council. I'm asking for a yes from everybody tonight, but I'd like to give you kind of an overview of what where we're at with Winter Glow. Believe it or not, this will be our 6th year this year. It's been very successful. As if you haven't been out there yet, I really recommend coming out. The price is right. It's free, and it's out there for 42 days. So there should be a free night that you can get out there and enjoy the spectacular colors and everything. Honestly, it takes a lot of money to put it together every year. People, it costs us about 60 grand. And we're a nonprofit, a 503c nonprofit. So, we're based on getting donations, et cetera. And we have 2 fundraisers. We just had our golf tournament, and October we will have our dinner auction. And then the rest of the money is relied on donations from businesses and citizens of the region. And with that, I'm just asking for an approval so we can move this on to the city council, and we can make sure that we have Liberty Lake lit up again for the holidays. Thank you very much.
Thanks for coming. I know I personally enjoy Winter Glow every year and usually end up going multiple times. So thank you
Good.
for all the work. And I know volunteers really help in making that possible. So.
And if anyone wants to volunteer.
Oh, here it comes.
Give me a call.
All right, thanks again for coming. Really appreciate it. Well, we'll move right into our action items, and the first one is the Winter Glow sponsorship. You'll see this again on our strategic plan and our budget, but kind of what's happening here is on our plan, we've had the symphony as a placeholder. It doesn't really, the money come out of our budget, but it's something the city's interested in. But since the symphony and Winter Glow and fireworks are all kind of programming functions, you're going to see those starting to appear in our budget, and then that will go on to the city council. But this Winter Glow sponsorship is important for our community, as you know. So if we could have a motion that we would want to go ahead and approve the sponsorship of Winter Glow, then we can send that on with our blessing to council.
I'll move to approve.
I would actually like to request an increase of 20%.
Ooh.
I think that Winter Glow is a widely attended, important function for the community. And I know that their costs, like everything else, are not going down. And so I would like to, in light of the city council's proposal to us or statement to us to ask for more, well, this is an opportunity. I think that Winter Glow could use another couple $1,000s. And I think it probably wouldn't do a big dent, but I think it would be important.
Right. And just for the record, the current sponsorship level is $10,000 that the city is wanting to provide. Okay.
So are you recommending?
Well, we don't,
12,000 or-
I guess we should clear the motion first. We don't have a second on the motion, so the motion would die without a second, and then do we want to do that and start over?
Do we need, well, would we need to amend the motion one and then
Yeah.
two?
Yeah.
I mean, we don't have I guess just for future, for the budget discussion coming up, are we now putting the dollars into our
Nope.
request or just
No,
adding the
it's the
placeholder?
same scenario as the symphony. It's not coming out of Parks and Arts budget. It's coming out of a separate line item that's managed under staff.
So can we even, can we recommend the
You-
staffing?
Mhm.
Okay,
You can, yes, you can recommend that you're supporting moving this to council. It doesn't, council is the one that has to approve the
Okay.
dollar figure. They approve the dollar amount. You as a group recommend moving it forward to council with your support.
And potentially we could suggest an increase.
What I think yes, I don't know how to do that. So I'm gonna have
so
to
would I
figure it
make
out.
a
What-
motion then to continue the sponsorship with a
Yes.
20% increase?
Yes, I think you would say we're recommending to move forward with a $10,000
Yes.
invoice. And we're also recommending a 20% increase to the tune of 12,000. And so I will figure out how to write that up and present it to council.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's great, because if we, like you say, there's an invoice, a copy of it in our packet.
Yeah.
If we approve the invoice and then along with that, with a recommendation for a 20% increase.
So you're telling me that you approve me moving forward with taking it to council with
Right.
the increase
Okay,
and the existing.
so do we want to, we don't have a second on the motion,
Well,
so,
we need to redo the motion then. So
Yes.
I'll motion that we approve the invoice as submitted and recommend a
Yes.
20% increase in sponsorship to Winterglow.
I second that.
any discussion on the motion? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Please show it passed unanimously.
Thank you very much.
Great idea, David.
See y'all later.
Thanks, Mark.
Bye-bye. All right, our next item is the Kramer, my tongue's tied tonight, the Kramer landscape discussion, and Lisa Key is here.
And just a quick note, this is discussing the landscape area around that Kramer corner and potentially the Kramer roundabout in the future of what the landscaping will look like.
So, yes, wanted to, approach you all. Jen and I were talking about the landscaping and the timing for it, et cetera. We are going to be doing design for the Country Vista Corridor Boulevard. Right now, it's in the capital facilities plan to begin next year, to do the design next year. There's a break before construction actually occurs. Currently on the CFP, it may get moved up. But I'm sorry, I have a little bit of a cold, so. It may get moved up to, so the construction begins in 2026, but as of right now, it's planned for 2027 with design happening next year. I took a cough drop exactly for this reason. Can I step out for 1 second?
Yes, go right ahead.
So the idea is they will be landscaping medians along the length of Country Vista. And it kind of made sense to Lisa and I to, rather than have the Parks and Arts Commission try to landscape that corner in its entirety, have that mixed in with the landscaping that's already going to happen in the medians along Country Vista. And then that way everything would tie in, everything would be budgeted together and potentially even include the Kramer for the landscaping side of things, include the Kramer Roundabout in that.
So again, the value of that is that we would have an economy of scale, both with the design and that we'd also have, and also with the construction potentially, but we'd also have consistency of design. And I think that there's a lot of benefit to doing that, since it will be really very much tied into Country Vista design and will really set the tone for the whole Country Vista corridor.
And Lisa, I think you're familiar that we are working on the Liberty Lake Together sculpture project in the triangle at the south end of the parkway. And then potentially another project for next year on the roundabout. So would we be able to get those projects done and installed before the landscaping so the design could showcase the sculpture?
Absolutely. And I think that there's some value to doing that, in that you could do a small curbed landscaping area around it just to set the tone, so it's not in the middle of a whatever. But that would actually help with the design, because then we could bring that, we could bring that knowledge of what the artwork looks like into the actual design of the landscaping. And I think that I think that that's a better scenario than doing the landscaping and then having the artwork constructed.
Great idea.
Plus, it takes the load of landscaping the entire areas off of the Parks and Rec Commission, puts it onto the staff project.
Yeah, and then, like you said, depending on how far the landscaping is out versus when the sculpture installed, if we have some definition of the sculpture in the interim, and then it would eventually be complemented by the landscaping.
Exactly. And I think, as I said, I think it would be really beneficial to the design of the whole corridor. So we think it's an exciting idea if you're open to that approach.
Right. Any questions for Lisa? Comments?
Would all of the landscaping occur in, I know you said 2027 right now is the construction landscaping with the potential to be moved up to 26?
Yeah, so actually, if we do the design together, the potential is that we could bid out
That section.
that section just in 2026. There's also the potential that that the project itself could move up a year. We left a year gap between design and construction, hoping that we could identify some funding sources, which we'll task the designer with looking at that. We may be able to move that up in the agenda. The other thing is that we were also, just for a variety of reasons why some other capital projects may be moving, there may be an opportunity to move up the entire thing for a year, but we'll have an economy of scale just in the design, even if we let that separately.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
Sure. Thank you.
Thank
Thank
you
you,
for
Lisa.
coming, Lisa. Really appreciate it.
Yes.
I think that's great that, we can have a design landscape around the sculpture. So it works perfect. All right. Let's move on to the new library design incorporating art. Jandy, thanks for coming.
Thanks for having me, guys. I just messaged Jen and Nancy just like a week ago and was like, hey, can I come to the Parks and Arts meeting? So thanks for squeezing me in. We're starting the very beginning design stages for the new library project. Right now we're doing some community input. We have a survey that's open for the month of August, and we're doing some initial design stages, just trying to get some ideas on cost estimates of what the new library project is going to cost. And I was talking about this with Mark and with Kim, who's with me today. And I was talking about how we really want to incorporate public art into the new library building. And I know you guys had just had a meeting with the city council about trying to get Parks and Arts incorporated at the beginning stages of projects like this. And so I had you guys in mind. I think you guys talked about this at the city council meeting. And so I was talking to Mark and Kim about it as well. And we wanted to float the idea with you guys of making the library kind of a pilot project on setting aside 1% of a capital budget aside for public art and making the library project like a pilot project, and trying that with the city. So Kim has worked on several, she's from Alaska and is an educator, and they had a lot of come up. They had a lot of public art projects where they did this. And so I brought her to kind of tell you guys some ideas and just see if this is something you guys might be interested in trying. And if so, then it's something we'd want to take to city council and get their approval on. So do you want to tell them about some of the projects? Just trying to give some ideas.
My name's Kim Gerard. I'm on the Board of Trustees for the library. I moved to Liberty Lake in 2019. Retired teacher and school librarian. And Alaska for many years has had a 1% for art state law that 1%, if a project is more than $2 million, 1% of the budget has to go for public art. And so they have committees that they put out a request for, projects, and there's a committee for each project that reviews and works with the different artists to choose public art. So I'm the most familiar with our public schools. I worked at a K through 12 project-based school, and our 1%, part of our 1% for art project was we worked with a local clay artist, and we built, she came in and did some lessons with the kids, and we ended up creating an archway to our schoolyard habitat that we wrote grants to develop. So the artist came in, did some lessons with kids, and then over the summer she installed her artwork. So it was there for us in the fall. Schools have sculptures out in the front. They have stained glass pieces at the end of a hallway that complement the habitat outside the school. Just all kinds of artist projects that some of them they can't work with kids at schools. But so as we were talking about public art in the library, Jandy said maybe we should come and visit with you to see about moving forward as Liberty Lake grows. So also I've worked, I was on a board for a fine arts academy, and one of our fundraisers was we had families sponsor a mosaic tile. I do mosaic art. And so families came in and created a 8x8 tile, and then those tiles became part of our front desk as part of a mosaic for the front desk. So trying to engage the community in the artwork and helps them buy into the art, and they'll want to come to the library and see art that they've helped create. So I think this is an exciting opportunity to look at how we can include artists and our community as we look at our new library possibilities. So
Just wanted to kind of come and see, have a discussion, get you guys' thoughts on if you think this is something that would work or not, or yeah.
Well, it's interesting because after the council workshop, they've asked us to create some ideas with a potential ordinance for funding. And I've been researching some examples, and I know the city administrator, Mark McAvoy, has been looking into it as well. So we hope something will come forward out of that. But I love that also it's coming from the library. So my question to you would be, we want to have public art in the library. I think we all do. How would we work with you on the actual process of deciding what that art would be, and how could we have input to that?
I think I would kind of look to you on what your process is and how you guys come up with ideas, because this isn't something I've ever done before as far as public art. So I'd definitely be leaning on you guys. But just coming up and hearing what your suggestions are, maybe seeing if there's a way we can incorporate the public in the decision or the art, or if we kind of have multiple different things going on. But it's something that I wanted to kind of come and gauge your interest on, and trying to get your input at the ground level.
Well, I think we need information on what the design would be, whether we
Yes.
would sit at a table at a design meeting and hear about the conceptual look of the library to help, us in making some suggestions, and whether, you'd be looking at something inside or outside, or
Yeah, I
how we
think
could
for sure.
collaborate and have some discussion on that.
Yeah, it's
As
something.
a friend of the library, I also have
both a digital and printable copy of the design survey, if anyone is interested in looking that over.
Yes. If you want to send that out, Noel, to everyone on the Parks and Arts Commission, then we can get your input just as a patron. But yeah, I think that's probably
Okay.
what we would do, like you were saying, with is once we have a design, show it to you guys and come up with ideas of where we could include public art. Because I know kind of for me, like I'd want some, I don't know, installed pieces and then maybe also have some gallery space in the library that we could do, on a rotating basis with local artists and also partnering. Right now we do some partnership with Ridgeline High School, but we don't have a lot of formal gallery space. So, stuff doesn't always look as good as it could. So something like that I think would be great also.
Sounds exciting.
As well.
I think that's a great idea. So Jen, should I forward that email to you to disperse?
Yes, that would be great. Thank you.
Okay. Okay, thank you.
I love this concept and I love that you came forward with this. I think especially your suggestion of piloting this, because this is kind of new territory for us as well in terms of how would we partner and kind of walk through that process from being, on that front end in the design process. So I personally love the idea of the collaboration of working together, seeing how that 1% kind of looks with what the library budget is and how we can move forward with that. Because as Nancy said, trying to come up with an ordinance of does that number make sense and at what level does it kick in? I think all of those discussions kind of happening with this would be great for both the library and the Parks and Arts Commission.
Ditto those comments.
It's very exciting. It's a marriage of my two favorite things, art and books.
Well, I've always been a supporter of local art. And I think the city up to this point has done a very good job, but you're never finished. So I think your ideas for that, and it not only does it add value to the city, but it draws people to the library too. And so I'll look forward to the future and seeing what occurs.
And I know we've also had discussions in the past about the beam from Trailhead. So I think that's something else we should try and incorporate with our design of the project, is figuring out a way to incorporate that into the new library as a focal piece of our history.
Yeah, we have many feet of beams, so yes.
Yes. The other thing, would be, and I don't know if this, I'm kind of wondering if it would be the same as just the last process you had, is making a recommendation to council on the amount. If we're going to do 1%, 1.5%, what that would look like. I just have no concept of how much your public art projects usually cost.
My initial research showed, and I think you've done some too, Laura, the 1% is a common number
Okay.
to see.
Yeah.
So I think it's a great starting point. I
Yeah.
mean, 10% would be even better, but
Yes.
No, I agree. And I think especially if we're approaching this as a pilot where we recommend or support the 1%. And then as we get into it, say, maybe 1.5 would have been a more reasonable number, just having the ability to kind of go back and amend that and use it to develop the ordinance that we would like to submit eventually for approval.
Right. Yeah.
So sorry, go ahead.
I was gonna say it's also be good to have our new student commissioner from Ridgeline. She's an art student from there. She could maybe get some ideas to entice young people to the library.
Yes, I think that'd be really good. So I don't know what you guys' process is, but what our hope had been was if it's something you guys were on board with, September 17th is when we're going to go over our initial designs for the council, and they're gonna select the budget. So there's gonna be a meeting on September 17th, and then I think it's like October 1st. And we're hoping as council determines the budget that they will kind of vote to set aside 1% for public art, if it's something that you guys are on board with as well.
Isn't there a more formal process for motioning for a 1%?
Well, yeah, there can be an ordinance that actually sets that aside. That's something that has to be worked through council.
Yeah, that's what I've been working on
Yeah.
gathering examples and our city administrator has some.
Right, but I don't know if.
That,
I had
if-
kind of initial envisioned this being a pilot, and then if it goes well, then it would go to an ordinance. So I don't know
And
if
it
John
has,
would
because it
make a
won't be in place.
recommendation or something, but
yeah, the ordinance wouldn't be in place by the time you're doing
No,
those
no,
reviews. So
no, that's
that's really
gonna take-
truly approaching it as a pilot and
Mhm.
letting that lead to the development of the ordinance, I
work?
think is
Could
a
that
really
work?
great process
Yeah.
to.
I think it
Or
would be
planned.
appropriate because if you're going on the 17th, and I would love to support you with that. Where am I going with this? If we could maybe come up with a motion of support of the library's idea so that we could
Yes.
send that forward to council, that we support the pilot project. We agree that 1% is a great starting place for the public art, just so that we have something to send on to council and we can include in our next report. That we're supporting this, and then make sure we have a representative at the 9/17 meeting too, to support you.
Yep.
If it's the pleasure of the commission that you think the motion is a good idea, just as a support.
I'll motion that we support the Parks and Arts Commission collaborating with the library on a pilot project of 1% capital budget to be allocated for public art.
I second.
I'll second.
That was good.
very
Oh my gosh.
Oh, fish.
Wow, you're the official motion maker.
Yeah.
Another. All right, the motion has been presented and seconded. Is there any discussion on the motion? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Please show that the motion of support has passed unanimously.
Thank you. I'm so excited.
Hey, Jandy, I just want to say,
Fabulous. Thanks, Jandy.
Jandy comes up with our books for the story walks. And she is like so on it. And so she always has probably 90 days, but I'll bet she's got more books in mind. So whenever those books change out, that's because of Jandy's foresight to get those ready, and also to our wonderful crew through the Public Works to get those installed. So thank you.
I love doing story time and I love picking out picture books for the story walk. I have a stack that I set aside of ones I think will be a good idea. So it's one of my favorite things.
Awesome.
Well, it's a
Ours
good-
too. We love our story walks.
All right, well, thank you so much for coming and for thinking of us, and it's exciting. We'll look forward to that. Yeah. Before we move on to our next agenda item, which is the budget strategic plan, do we have an agenda item that we need a motion to move up on the agenda?
Yes,
Laura?
please. I would like to motion that we move the unfinished business item number 3, the Kramer Liberty Lake Together artwork forward. We have the artist here to present a concept to the commission. Mallory.
Fabulous.
Second that, that's a motion.
It is a motion to move it up, yes.
Move up the agenda item. It's been moved and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The motion is approved. Do you want to introduce the subject, Laura, and then ask our guests to come up?
So as you all know, we had a Liberty Lake Together artwork call to artists that was out. We unfortunately did not receive a lot of submissions, but we did have Mallory and Colleen reach out to us with an amazing proposal. So I met with them, David and I met with them a week ago. They kind of went over what they were thinking, and we both loved the idea and wanted to invite them to come to the commission to present the idea to everyone, and to kind of discuss what the next steps in the project might look like. So Mallory and Colleen, if you're.
And then there's a picture in.
Yes,
this-
in your packet, you'll find pictures of the concept of the artwork, as well as examples of both Mallory's and Colleen's artwork. And I apologize, I know you weren't here at the beginning. We're having some technical difficulties, so we can't pull up your presentation, but we do have printed copies in everyone's packets. Yes, please.
Well, thank you for having Colleen and I out. I'm Mallory Batista and this is Colleen Lake. Colleen lives here in Liberty Lake and is a very talented glass artist. I hail from Spokane and I do a lot of different kinds of art, but I'm very into public sculpture. I do metal work and mosaic work and other large scale things as well as murals. I'm glad that you guys have our concept art in front of you. Mostly we just wanted to be here to answer questions, but I will say that I was very inspired by your Liberty Lake Together mural. It just sort of hit like a bolt of lightning, like how amazing it would look as a fused glass circle in several different color motifs, sort of playing with color theory and picturing those displayed prominently on metal panels so that the light can shine through. I drove past your location and Colleen has as well, but it's a very large space. And so it just really felt like needing to scale up rather than having something small on a pedestal, though you will see that I did also have a sketch for something smaller if that's the direction that you guys are interested in going. But we're very excited about the marriage of the materials. The fused glass is just so beautiful, especially in an outdoor setting to have the light. And if it could be like backlit at night, it would just be a really amazing placemaking piece. And then of course, just the metal as a way to support it and tie it all together. It's just a really nice mix of materials. So we were excited about the concept and we appreciate being able to present it to you. Colleen and I are actually working together on a project right now for Riverfront Park, a sculptural bench that I'm working on. Colleen is helping me with some fused glass pieces to accent the glass mosaic that's going to be part of the sculptural bench. So we love working together and it would be really wonderful to get to work on this piece for Liberty Lake. Colleen's brought some of her pieces so you can really see what her work looks like. Particularly, I'd like to draw your attention to the sunflower, because what we're proposing is that on the round kind of windows, the little figures in your logo would be tack fused on, so they'd actually be raised like the petals on her sunflower here, which adds like a real neat dynamic to it and a nice texture. And Colleen's really a whiz with the colors. Probably didn't come out great on the printed version, but if you see the PDF, I included a picture of one of the elements that she's making for this bench that I'm working on. And just the amazing color and the kind of iridescence, like there's just a lot of fun things to play with the fused glass, from iridescent to texture that you can get in the dichroic, different levels of transparency, blending of colors. It's just a really kind of magical material. So anyway, we thought it would be a really good fit for this project and we hope you think so too. So
The real thing doesn't, the picture does not give it justice. That is absolutely amazing.
yeah, and I know people hear glass and they get nervous in an outdoor setting that it's, that fragile and, they worry about it being vandalized and things like that. But with the fused glass, we can make it really thick. It's really durable. It's actually very easy to maintain if somebody, puts graffiti on it. It's washable, it's glass, So we would take some steps with the texture to try to make sure that it's not easily scratchable, but it's really an ideal material for this purpose.
What is fused glass?
You want to answer?
Excuse me, could you talk into the microphone because we're recording the meeting if you don't mind? Thank you so much.
So I have 3 kilns and so you take glass that is fusible and you fuse it together. So you melt it together. The turquoise one is a full fuse of 1450 degrees. I really like to do the others where it has some texture, so it's not a full flat fuse. So it's a little bit, it's like 1350 in the kiln. Yeah, so I have a really big kiln and then I have a couple small kilns that I work with. Yeah. It's an addiction. Yes, it becomes one. Usually I just use 2 pieces and it keeps its shape. Once you go past 2, you have to have a mold because when you put it in the kiln, it melts, right? So you just don't want it to go all over. Yeah, so I have molds and all kinds of great things.
Is it tempered?
No, I don't work with tempered, but others can and do. Yeah. I buy it.
Well, I can't thank you enough for coming today, and I love some of your comments. I mean, I personally have been a little worried about the space because like you said, Mallory, it's large. And I love the fact that you've taken an idea and expanded it out where it'll, people are going by at whatever speed limit they're driving. And, they'll be able to see it and it'll brighten kind of a drab, busy corner. And I love the mix of fused glass and metal. I absolutely love it. So thank you for thinking of this and to bringing it forward to us.
And I guess just to add on, I guess if everyone has this page with it, one of the things that we talked about when we met last week was just the dimension. So each of these panels can be up to 4 feet.
Nice.
And then there is an opportunity if we felt like we wanted additional height to basically create a concrete platform where you could create that if we wanted it higher up as part of the landscaping. And then the last item that we had talked about, and when you mentioned just driving by, having it lit. So much like the Rocky Hill Liberty Lake Together art is lit, we would want to probably do the same thing for this. And I think just, continue to highlight it and on that corner. And then like Lisa talked about having it there to be able to really highlight the artwork with the landscaping that goes in. So.
Okay.
Well, the nice thing of it, like about this, is you have the chance of swapping it out after a few years. Of just saying, we need, just change it, maybe all of them or just a few of them so that there's a variety. So when people go by after a couple of years, they're not seeing the same thing over and over again.
Or add more.
Yeah.
Are we talking the glass pieces, change them out? Is that what he's?
She's asking, are you talking about changing out the glass pieces?
Yes.
Ooh.
Commissioner
is open to infinite commission.
Well, if the photos don't do it justice, I'm excited to see what they look like in real life because even the photos are absolutely lovely.
Commissioners, any other questions or comments? Well, thank you, ladies, so much for coming, and we're awesome that we have this amazing choice in front of us, so we'll keep you in the loop. And if you want to leave that sunflower with me, that'd be great.
Yeah, so I don't know if we want to continue this discussion now or after the budget, but I personally love the concept that's been brought forward. So as a commission, we would just need to decide if we want to move forward with this concept for the Liberty Lake Art Together. And yeah, so I guess looking for a motion for that.
Would you like to make a motion, Laura?
You want me to make another motion? I would love to motion that we move forward with the Liberty Lake Together artwork as presented by Mallory and Colleen at the meeting today.
I second that.
Any discussion on the motion? Seeing no discussion, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Please show the motion has passed unanimously.
So the next steps would be, we'll work with you to put together an artist agreement and lay out the timeline. I know one thing to highlight is, the time of year that we're at now, getting it installed by the end of this year is not feasible. So we had discussed, yeah, I know that's part of the budget.
Yeah.
So we already had that allocated in the budget, but being able to allow the artists to work on it over the winter and do an install in spring. So we would just have to structure the artist agreement as such, but that ties into our budget discussion.
And then we could ask city council to approve moving those monies over since the project wouldn't be completed till the following year.
Yeah, so
That's kind of how we
What we,
structured it.
yeah, what we would do is, let's see, what do we have budgeted for this year? We have
We have the full amount
full amount.
this
30
year, and that includes the
Yeah.
artwork
And
and
then we
any
moved it down, yeah.
landscaping work that's required in terms of the curbing and pedestal mounting.
I- So as long as there's intent, so there's a note on 25 that says tentative carryover from 2024 to be, I would just leave it as is to,
And then we can update council once we have
Yeah.
the artist agreement and
Yeah.
have set out a
Yeah.
timeline.
so for the sake of the budget, I would recommend just leaving this as is
Yeah.
and then,
2025.
yeah,
So, because the artist agreement wouldn't be
because we don't,
ready for execution and approval by council by this meeting, we'd have to carry that over into.
yeah,
Yeah.
that way it would
Right,
cover
September meeting.
either year
Yeah,
or a little bit of both.
yeah, and
years.
that's how we left it,
So-
just not
so-
knowing.
To be safe, I would just recommend leaving it as
Okay.
is, yeah.
Yeah, okay.
What would
Yeah.
construction time be on something like this? I know it's an open-ended question.
You'll have to come up to the microphone again, please. Thank you.
This is a Mallard question,
Ah.
I'm not sure.
Okay.
Well, Laura can get that information when she has the discussion and bring it back to the next meeting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, but the idea, or my understanding was that you would complete the panels over the winter, and then
Yes.
it would be bringing the panels
Yeah,
and
yeah.
installing.
you.
So the actual installation timeframe, I would imagine would be fairly minimal. It's the
Creation.
the creation time.
Yes,
that-
For sure. Do you want us to fill out the application and everything? Because we never really did that. That
Yes,
probably,
please.
pardon?
Yes, please.
Okay, sounds good.
Do the bases have, I'm trying to think of the word I'm trying to say. Are the bases flat or is some texture to them?
You know, the bases were still trying to figure out because David had mentioned that we might want to put it on, was it cement, David?
Yes.
Yeah,
or
so we
even
could have it at different
even a
levels.
slight egress there
Yeah,
if we needed to make it higher, and that, of course, would have to work into the landscaping.
right.
Well,
just to
you
make
know,
it
The
bigger.
metal itself is a perforated metal,
I
so
believe
there's
so.
some texture to
Yeah,
the
okay,
metal.
because I think that gives it, that adds to the value of it when you're viewing it instead of having just a cement wall.
Correct, yeah.
Well, thank you again for coming, Colleen. We appreciate you and Mallory, and we're excited about the possibilities.
Did you want me to stay and leave this or?
Does any commissioners just want to get up really quick and look while we prepare to go into the strategic plan?
Plate is absolutely stunning.
The poppies?
Yes.
Yeah.
that is-
Thank
You
you.
can't tell from here, but it's super.
Well, you
like-
gotta get up and look, you gotta
You gotta
feel
go
it.
look at
I'd like it in my house.
I could do
Bob.
that.
Okay.
Thank you.
Maybe while you're looking, I can kind of introduce the next agenda item so we can keep rolling. So getting back into our regular agenda outline, our next one is our budget strategic plan, which we've been working on for a while now, and I'm hoping that we can finalize with a vote so we can pass it on to our city administrator so he can put it in his packet for council presentation. We've worked on several drafts, and last week, Laura and I met and we took our draft from our last meeting, the comments from the last meeting, the comments from the city council workshop, and tried to make kind of a revised draft agenda so we'd have a good place to start with our discussion, so we could kind of get right into the meat of things. So you'll see on 2025, if you have this paper in front of you, that we have for a placeholder, put this Kramer Parkway art that we've been discussing in as kind of a carryover in case that we're not making any payments this year. And then as we discussed at our last meeting, we have the Kramer roundabout would be our Liberty Lake Together art. So we carry that over to the other side of the bridge. And from what Lisa Keys had said, it makes good sense because they're going to be doing that landscaping and it'll kind of all just be a wave of that and tie in to our Liberty Lake Together art. As Laura was discussing at the last meeting, updating the ticket booth with Pavilion Park. Jen had some input that you felt like your team could kind of be in charge of that, so it would be redone. We did put a dollar amount in there for that in case there's,
Yeah, so we would rebuild it and then leave any art type additions to it to the commission. So we would just rebuild it basically as it is now, just make
yeah,
it
and
healthy again.
so
Rotten.
I'm not sure, Jen, do we need the 10,000 for building and drawing and execution, or given that?
No,
no.
because we will budget it out of the CFP through a park project, similar to re-roofing the pavilion, that kind of thing. But I don't know what you would want to, so I would remove the building drawings and execution permit requirements and just put a dollar amount in there for whatever
Yeah,
artistic.
we
additions.
have the artistic, we put it in 2026 because we didn't know
Mhm.
the building time frame. So do you think we would need to move that to 2025?
I think you're better off leaving it for 26 because that gives us the entire year to complete the project. 'Cause
Okay.
it'll either be early spring or late fall that we do it because of how busy that park is. And I can't tell you which one it would be.
Okay,
Most likely fall, but
Okay.
So-
Would you paint it? Like you would construct and paint and
Yeah.
then
yes,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
So well, basically the goal would be to
in-kind replace?
renovate. Exactly. Yes,
We-
thank you.
Real quick question, Jen, are you thinking to have it functional like it kind of is now inside? I know it's. been-
Correct. Yeah,
Okay.
it's a functional
Yeah.
item. It's not just a decorative piece. So we need it for functional purposes, but we could rebuild it like in kind, like Laura was saying.
Right.
Okay, thank you.
okay, so we'll take out the $10,000 and then leave the beautification of it in our 2026 line item, because it sounds like we wouldn't be able to get to that. Then we put the Trailhead Beam project in there as a placeholder, but I failed to ask Jandy any kind of time frame. So I'm not
I think
sure.
26 is more, I don't think anything's gonna happen in 25 regarding.
So maybe we need to move that into the 2026.
Yeah.
Trailhead.
Trailhead Beam project. Utility box wraps, from what Lisa had said at a previous meeting, the DOT should release that, and that would be nice because I'd hate to have those ugly. But I do think that we won't be able to do those until we know what the art is, and somehow maybe we want to do a call to artists to complement the,
The artwork that's going on that. Right?
I don't
Yeah,
know.
the students did an amazing job with the stuff at Ridgeline. I
Yeah.
was so impressed with that.
It is. I think on this one, I feel like you want it a little more neutral, so it doesn't take away from the sculptures that are there,
Good
but
point, very
complements.
Just some
the-
color of some
complements
sort.
the color. And we've had some artists in the past that have submitted maybe what I'll call a little more abstract type artwork that's still vibrant.
Mhm.
So I think it would complement. the-
Laura,
Do you know what we're, excuse me, do you know what we're speaking of with the utility box? Okay, good, good.
yeah, thank you for that. So would 4,000 cover us? Well, usually the 4,000 usually is pretty much getting the wraps and STCU. Would we need to add something for someone to do the art? Just, no, okay.
No,
So-
unless we had a
it's
specific
for
artist that we
plenty.
were asking to commission the forest more than adequate to cover the wrap and a stipend for the
Okay.
artwork.
And then we had talked about the story walk, and David, I know you had brought up that we had potential, I think last time is what we were remembering, that there was the outlet channel trail or the arboretum trail. But 5,000, David, from your conversations, does that still seem like a realistic number to create a story walk in one of those two locations?
Yes.
Okay.
So the previous ones, trying to remember how much the the Orchard Park one was. Jen, do you happen to have that?
Look real quick here. Go ahead and
The net cost
Yeah.
or the gross cost before any donations?
give me a few minutes.
And I don't know that we need to decide where we're gonna put it in this meeting. We just need a placeholder that we're going to do it. So while she's looking at that,
We're in 25, correct?
we're in 25.
Okay.
So then, also in 25, we just added a standard, this is kind of our spare change account for beautification. And then programming, we had discussed some ideas, which we had put in the notes. Katie, you had discussed some bike safety. We had mentioned a basketball or a skate clinic. You know, maybe we would use some of that money to pay an expert or to buy helmets or whatever, create an obstacle course for bikes, whatever we would want to do. So that's just kind of a generic fund for that sort of thing. We discussed the Smarty boards, and I know that we discussed doing 2, but since Pavilion Park is going to be redone, it makes no sense to do one there.
Correct.
So-
Agreed.
I think that would just be the Rocky Hill. I'm not sure the 3,000 is quite enough because it was 27 and some change last time, so.
I'm sorry, I'm still looking for. what-
Oh, that's all right. The Smarty board ended up being 27 and some change
Yeah.
last time, so
28,
I wonder if
Like a
we should,
35.
maybe we better do 35 on that, 3,500, just,
If we order 2, I know that's too soon, but if we order 2, there was a small discount, but I don't think it was enough to
no.
to make us,
Well-
you know, say, hey, let's order 2
Well,
of
because
them.
if you wait until pavilion, depending on what direction council decides in terms of an in-kind replacement or a park redesign, I think that pushes the project out potentially several years.
Yeah, we don't want to store it, so. Why don't we up that to 3,500, just be, going on Jen's
Agreed.
theory, it's better to have a contingency fund on that. We put in a placeholder for the pavilion playground, that would be a city expense, but we have, through the council workshop, there was suggestions, which we started at Barefoot by gathering input from kids on the Post-it notes, which was kind of fun. But we put in 5,000 in case we need to hire a facilitator for a meeting of, like a city hall kind of, town hall kind of meeting, or we needed to have some promotional materials, or we just put that in there as a just in case number. And then in 2025, we put the symphony with the asterisk, the fireworks with the asterisk. We forgot Winter Glow with an asterisk, so that would be added also to the 2025. Understanding symphony, fireworks, and Winter Glow does not come out of our budget. And then just briefly on
So
20,
just clarify, we do not need to put a number there?
no
Okay.
number, just like
Okay, just want to
symphony.
make sure.
Yep. And so 2026, well, first of all, let's just kind of, what's your, before we forget what we just talked about, 2025, that was kind of the draft from our conversation and from a little bit that, from the council workshop. What are your thoughts on this draft for 2025? Is there anything that's a concern? Is there something that we're missing? You don't think the dollar amount is enough? What are you guys thinking?
One thing I was wondering, could we put some signage up for where the Arboretum is before we do the Smarty or the story walk? Because it is hard to find with no signage. I just went over there today and I was noticing there was no signage to say, here's the Arboretum.
I think the Lions Club got dibs
Yes.
on that, from what
Okay,
I understand.
good.
There's a
Yeah.
master plan that was developed a number of years ago, and the Lions Club is kind of executing that plan. And we can certainly, I can reach out to Wendy Van Orman and mention that that came up in a discussion and see what their plan is. Maybe she can, let us know a little bit. Couldn't hurt to have her come in and give us an
Yeah,
update.
and
or
they are
something.
advertising, and the Lions project is on the agenda for approval for council tomorrow night. They're advertising that their funds from their donation or their expenses that come with the bricks, part of that
Right.
could go to something like, an entry. Her idea is an entry, almost like a arch, with signage, so.
That'd be good.
Yeah, there's a,
There's a whole master
Jen
plan.
has a master plan available for, if you want to look at it at some point.
Okay.
But that's a great idea, because I didn't even know we had one till I heard about the Lions Club and their stuff,
Yeah,
so, yeah,
me too. That's why I was trying to find it.
yeah. So, What other comments or questions or?
I have one
Okay.
that I actually have not even talked to you about, so I apologize. But it has been asked of me a couple of times, do we have in the budget a item somewhere for maintenance of art and upkeep? And my response was no, not specifically. What we do, if there is, let's say, vandalism on the skate park art, our crews go and clean it off. Any supplies purchased for cleaning it off goes to typical park maintenance. There may be a point though, where and I don't know when that is, but there may be a point when the commission wants to have a line item set aside just for upkeep and maintenance of art. I don't know what that looks like. Is that if the mural starts to kind of fall apart? Is that if, what does that mean? Does that mean vandalism? Do we continue to take it out of our office and operating supply line items? It's been nominal so far. But there could be a year where it isn't, and then where does that money come from? So I don't know how we want to approach that. And I think it is a normal process to have a line item dedicated to art maintenance and upkeep.
My question is if we had a line item, say we put $5,000, I'm just making up a
Yeah.
number. And then we didn't need any maintenance that year, could we have like our little maintenance savings account where that money would be set up?
Or
No.
go to beautification.
No, so money doesn't accrue and carry over and add on to the next year. We start from zero, basically. Sorry.
Is there anything in the city's insurance that covers anything like that?
I'm sure there is, but I don't know that any of our art is of,
High enough value. to
Yes,
claim,
thank you.
Yeah. I think it's a great idea and it's actually a comment that through the call process has come up, especially on the Hooptown Court,
yeah.
because some of the artists that reached out said with that question specifically have
Yeah.
been disappointed with
Yeah.
the maintenance on courts and other parks.
Mhm.
So I think that it's a good idea to.
So I think we're
have
far enough
something.
in now and we've got enough art spread around. We need to think about that, even if it's not this year. We can continue using the funds that are currently in the park operating supplies as it's basic maintenance, but as we do get things of great value maybe, or, even if they aren't of great value, there's still upkeep that has to be done. Where does that funding come from? Let's just say one of them was destroyed. Or, I know insurance would cover a portion of it, but let's say we decided it wasn't worth it. Would we want to repair it, replace it? I don't know.
Do we
It
have,
would be helpful to have some money set aside just for that. And if we don't use it, we don't use it.
Well, I think that's a great idea. And by having those funds available, there isn't any hesitation.
Yeah,
Mhm.
exactly.
Okay,
Exactly.
you know,
And we do get
Fine.
small things like vandalism, and it would be a no-brainer to say, oh, well, any supplies you guys buy down at Home Depot to clean it off, let me know and I'll take it out of that fund. But I think 5,000 is a good starting
yeah,
point.
I mean, so do you want to add a line item to starting in 2025 for public art maintenance?
Seems reasonable.
Like I said, I don't foresee, knock on wood, I don't foresee it
Yeah.
really getting utilized,
That's good. to
but
have.
I think it's a safety
Mhm.
blanket to have.
That made me wonder, do we have a city inventory of art with an
No,
estimated value?
no, that's on my. Mikkel's here to help me. So I've been thinking about that. We do need something that has an inventory of everything we've done.
Yeah.
So I've never had time to do it. I have thought about that. I never. did
And for
anything.
risk management purposes,
Yeah.
an estimate value, including a replacement value.
Yeah. And right now we do, I'm in our city's software, financial software. We do have a line item that I don't know that even Parks and Arts is aware of. It's a line item that I've put in every year that we've been a commission for $5,000. It's just supplies. So when the crew puts in the story walk posts and they need cement to fill the holes, that's where I pull that from.
Mhm.
It's laminating books. Where does that come from? That comes from staff supplies. That's not even part of this budget. I just put that in there for the operating side of things. So we could put a professional
Yeah.
service line item in to bring in a professional person if we needed it to repair.
And appraise.
Yeah.
So shall we add, starting in 2025, a public art maintenance line item and insert $5,000 in it.
I think
And
that's a
we'll
great
kind of
idea.
see where that goes. Thank
Yeah.
you for bringing that forward. That's a great idea. So that, back to our discussion on 2025, I mean, we have our draft. We're gonna move the take the ticket booth off for 2025. We're gonna move the beam project to 26. We're gonna up the budget to 3,500 on the,
Smarty board.
no, oh yeah, on Smarty boards. Thank you. And then we're adding the winter glow with the asterisk. And then we're adding the public art maintenance line item that will carry forward each year, and we'll start it in 2025 as $5,000. Any other, what are we missing for 2025?
And I want to emphasize this now. The 32,500 that's budgeted for this year for Kramer Corner. The 32,000 that's budgeted for next year for Kramer Corner. If you don't spend all of the funding in 2025, that money is really dedicated to that project. It doesn't free it up for something else. Just so we're clear, right?
We're clear, thanks.
Sorry, I just want that to be clear now.
I'm the carryover queen.
Yeah, I know. That's what it's dedicated for. It's simply to finish up that project in whatever capacity we don't finish it this year.
Well, our project mad money is beautification and programming,
Yeah.
right? And we can
Yes.
figure out
Correct.
projects as they come up with that.
Mhm.
And maybe someday those will need to be bigger, but is everyone happy with 2025 with those adjustments that we have discussed? Okay,
Yes.
let's talk about.
Sounds great.
Pardon me, Noel?
Oh, I said sounds great.
Thank you. Let's look at 2026. We have our Liberty Lake Together art. You'll see we upped it from 32,500 to 40,000. Laura reminded me that everything costs more, so we just stuck a slightly larger number in there because of that. Laura made the comment that maybe something at the trailhead or city entrance. That's something we don't have to figure out now. Just, we know we don't want to do the Liberty Lake Together art, and we can discuss what that's going to look like later. We've had this line item for a number of years, the rock art for Pavilion Park. That's going to be dependent on the playground plan and the footprint. Jen, do you think that's appropriate for 2026 or
Yeah.
that's no way?
Yeah, no, I think that time it with
2026.
the playground renovation or whatever
Okay.
happens with the playground.
So that's that. Then the ticket booth would be completed in 25. So we would have money to work on that and the continuation of the mural theme on the ticket booth.
Yeah, so I don't know if everyone's had a chance to look at the ticket booth there, but it really truly does look like a ticket booth, just where there was windows, there's ply that has been installed. So one idea that's been discussed is kind of a continuation of the mural theme, but in those insets on the ticketing booth. So you might have someone that's like kind of looking there, ready to accept your money for a ticket or just doing that continuation. Jen reminded me as we talked about turning the corner on the building with the mural, that is where porta potties get put for events. So we're not blocking the mural on the front. So looking at ways that we can support the continuation without taking away from a needed space for other events.
Right. So that's that 15,000 there. The Smarty board, we have the 3,000. We better put that at 3,500. That's for adding into the new playground at Pavilion Park. We just have Pavilion Park Playground as a to be determined. We don't know what councils, it's obviously, to me, gonna cost more than the in-kind replacement. Is that what you call it?
I think it's 200,000 or one.
Yeah, so that just leaves a spot if we think something should be something and we want to put it in our budget. Again, beautification and programming, we did up the beautification number a little bit. Then from the city council workshop, they like the fact that we have our goats and there may be a signature goat item. We could maybe have a kid-friendly interactive goat statue as people come into the farmer's market at Town Square, I thought that might be fun. I went to Canada and theirs was a sculpture tour, but in the council, oh, sorry. The council workshop, they were talking about creating an art district, which we don't really even have a downtown, but we could create an art walk. And up in Castlegar, they had these little maps that you can put in a little holder, like by a goat statue at Town Square, and you could start people and you could see the Pavilion Park mural, the Kramer Parkway stuff, the Rocky Hill. You know, you could have whatever you want. And it could be kind of a fun signature thing, and maybe you could even have a goat as a tour guide or something. But it would be nice maybe to, you know, have something with a goat. So, because that did seem really important to council in the workshop. So we put in a goat statue of some sort, and it's all tentative on where we would put it. And then we have our symphony, fireworks, and winter glow. So that was just Laura and I sitting down and trying to map out 2026 from what we already had there, and then our discussion, and again, the council workshop input. So now it's our time to discuss 2026. What do you think about what we've laid out? What are we missing? What do we not have enough money for? What do you want to change or add?
Well, Oliver has been hard at work designing all kinds of different goat statues to decorate the city.
Yay.
Your son, Oliver.
That's fun.
Do you know if there's a file of goat artwork that has been done in the past? Councilman Kennedy said there was.
Here?
Yeah.
The only thing I could think of that he would be referring to is we had a call to artist in like 2018,
Yeah, right, at the
2019,
beginning.
and had a couple of submissions, but it wasn't artwork per se. It was 2 statue submissions.
Okay, just side check.
For some reason, after the workshop, I had this goat dream. And and it was when people came to the farmer's market, and it was a goat statue, but it wasn't some iron angular thing. It was something more fiberglassy and colorful that wasn't going to cut kids, and that they could like lean on, potentially climb on, do selfies with, and that it would just be something really fun. That because somehow in this kooky dream I had, it, you know, was about Liberty Lake's about families, and so how do we engage kids in art in our community? So if we have something fun in a place where people actually gather, like the town square and the farmer's market, and eventually in the bigger design of that space, it might be fun to have that kind of our signature thing of Liberty Lake and the goats. I don't know. That was my idea, but we don't have to figure that out today. But if you like that as a placeholder, that we have plenty of time to discuss it, because 2026 is a ways out. But that was kind of my little idea after the workshop.
Sounds fun.
I have a question. So we may have already covered this, but for Katie's bike initiatives and stuff, where are we covering that on here?
That's programming.
Okay, great, thank you.
And if we do more of that, we did increase the programming budget has stayed the same, but that's a budget that we could grow at some point as we grow programs. But I think we're at a good starting point for that. Okay. If we look at 2027, this is really just some placeholders, and there's not much in there. And Jen, I really don't think we have to worry too much about what's in 2027,
No.
do we?
No,
No.
it's just placeholder.
Yeah, so it's just a placeholder. If there's something else that we need to put as a placeholder, I guess we'd be carrying down the public art maintenance line item in every year with the updates that we've discussed.
I think I was looking for Story Walk. Did you mention the fireworks increase?
Not yet.
Oh, okay.
And when you see the symphony, the fireworks, and the winter glow with the asterisk, just so you'll know what that's talking about. In 2024, the city had budgeted 20,000 for the symphony, and in 2025, it's 21,000, I think you told me. Winter Glow is the 10,000, which we just recommended a 20% increase. This year is the first year of a 3-year firework contract. And Jen, do you want to talk a little bit about the duration and?
Yeah, so in past years, we've had fireworks shows that last as long as 20 minutes. Over the years, we've determined a 13 to 15-minute show is ideal. It's the perfect length. However, as costs have increased significantly over the years, what we've been funding hasn't been enough to keep up with the length of the shows. So our show this year was actually 7.25 minutes. And it was too short. I think several of us as staff agree. And I was asked to have a discussion with council, and I wanted to start here about increasing the funding for next year and amending the current contract for the last 2 years to increase it. Hopefully and ideally, per staff recommendation and per pyrotechnician recommendation, the 13 to 15-minute length again, which is what it had been in recent years. The lake does go as long as, I believe, 20 minutes, and it's almost too long. We've done 20 minutes, it's almost too long. So if we went 13 to 15 minutes, that would basically double what we had this year. And fireworks are interesting because the timing is all up to the pyrotechnician and the purchaser, which is staff. So we tell him, we could have said, we want that show to be 15 minutes. It would have been painful for everyone. So what he provided this year is sort of our standard. It's firework after firework after firework. It's tuned to a specific requirement that we have. We don't think it should go any faster. We don't think it should go any slower. So staff's recommendation would be to double the show, double the funding. So 7.25 minutes, 14 to 15-minute show. And right now, this year, I believe it was 13,000. What did I say?
13
even. So the recommendation would be to double that for next year and be 26,000. I don't know if council will support it, but this is the starting point.
Is this on our budget as a item that we support, or
Correct.
are we making up the difference?
Nope, it's the same as a symphony,
Just the supporting.
same as Winter Glow. You're just recommending that council supports increasing the budget. This is not a public art budget.
Okay.
So.
Do we need to specifically state somewhere? that
Yes.
okay.
So I would ask, since that's such a significant increase, what I would end up doing is through the budget process, proposing and actually calling out the fireworks contract amount for 25, and I'll call it out in this year's budget. Have a discussion, bring it up to council. If the commission is willing, have the commission vote on increasing the budget, asking council to increase the budget per staff's recommendation and feedback, and then see what we end up with.
So do you want something today like we did it for Winter
Yeah,
Glow?
since we're discussing budgets, I think that would be ideal. Worst case scenario, if the commission is not ready, next meeting would be sufficient as well.
I mean, I watched the fireworks here and I was like, that's it.
Yeah, it was
So,
short.
It was short.
I like it short,
But
but that's just me.
the first few years that they did it, it seemed that they spread it out
They did.
way too long.
Yes,
So it was
they
like a
did.
firework, and a
Pause,
firework.
forward, yeah.
And so it was really like, you
Painful.
know, everybody was kind of looking towards the lake.
Uh-huh.
But so I did like it this year. Normally, fortunately, I go out to Coeur d'Alene to watch it, but this year I thought it was great.
Yeah,
I
the
thought the
last,
timing was much better.
thank you. Yeah, I'll pass that on. About the last 3 years, we've changed the timing. The first couple of years that the fireworks were happening, it was definitely spaced out for budget reasons, tried to focus on the length of time, not the
Right.
show.
Mhm.
And we started realizing we need to focus on the show, not the length of time. Well, now we're down to 7 minutes, which is really short.
Mhm.
So, yeah, that's.
I think the lake
conversation.
folks started about 5 minutes
did.
after we did, so.
Mhm.
And they went for quite a while.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
So, I know we're in the middle of the other discussion, but do we want to real quick, make a motion about the fireworks similar to what we did for Winter
Sure,
Glow?
I'll do. I move that the city council the Parks and Arts Commission recommend that they double the length and as well as if needed to be double the budget for the show for 2025.
I'll second.
It's been moved and seconded. Do we have any discussion on the motion? All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Please show the motion is passed unanimously that commission is in support of these changes. All right, back to our discussion. So we've kind of gone over all the years. We don't have, like I say, much in 2027, but that's not really important right now. I think it's nice to give them a good look at 2026, but 2025 absolutely needs to be dialed in. So, are you ready to make a motion to support the draft budget with the changes we discussed today? Or do you want to go back up to the top and work our way down again? What's your pleasure?
First off, thank you, Laura and Nancy, for doing the work. I know this is the toughest part, I think, that we do other than being creative. So thank you for the time and effort you put into that. I propose that we go ahead and accept a motion to move that these numbers that we've updated be put into the city budget for 2025.
So the draft budget would discuss changes?
Correct.
Okay. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
All right, any discussion on the motion? So it looks like we're getting close. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Please show that the draft budget with tonight's changes has been approved.
And
So-
Jen's got us working on starting to prepare for the next one already.
So I don't know, Jen or Laura, one of you two is gonna update it and
I can take a stab at it and send it out to you both and make sure it's correct.
Yeah.
Okay,
and then you can send it on to Mark.
and then the recreation side is the other half of this.
Right.
Okay.
Thank you for the reminder. Okay, in our packet, Mikhail, he's been working on the facilities program and fee schedule for the city. And he made a presentation and came back with his final recommendation, and we need to approve as written or discuss or make changes, but now is the time we need to finalize it because it's also part of the budget discussion. Mikhail, do you want to come up in case there's any questions? So you took our recommendations and came up with
Thank you.
your best recommendation based on that?
Yes, correct. So with the field or picnic shelters, rentals, my recommendation was doing the 4-hour blocks. And then with the ball fields, with the recommendations before, or the discussion before, I recommended doing the 2-hour minimum of a 2-hour minimum rental time, both those just to make sure we're covering as much cost as we can of our staff time.
Okay. What are your questions for Mikhail?
Is the concession fee for the ball fields, is that new for 25, it looks like?
It is not.
It is not, that's
No,
something that's
it's
there
been
in
in
place,
there.
okay.
Now remember, if this revised schedule, if we approve it, if it doesn't work, we can look at it again for the following year. We're just locked in for 2025.
And keeping in mind, council still has to approve it as well, so they may have questions. I know we've got a couple ball field parents on the council and they may have questions, so.
I'd like to make a motion that we accept the program fees as presented today for our recommendation to city council.
A second.
Any discussion on the motion to approve the 2025 facilities program fee schedule as presented? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Please show the motion passed unanimously. Thank you for all your work on that. It's been really helpful.
Thank you for your work
welcome.
also at the Barefoot.
Oh, you're welcome.
You were running around like crazy.
Yes, thank you.
You're welcome.
And thanks for all the commissioners that participated in Barefoot and staff. I mean, it was a great event. The weather wasn't great, but it was a great event and people seemed really happy to be there. And Katie, how many bike helmets?
Yeah, we distributed about 80 bike helmets and fitted them on the kids' heads. So it was pretty amazing. Yeah.
She is a whiz at that, let me tell you. All right, let's see. Next on our agenda, we're moving on to unfinished business. I just wanted to stick the meeting length in there because I know some of our meetings have been running long and a lot of it is because of the budget and strategic plan. So I don't know what your anticipation is of meeting length. I mean, we do have certain items we need to cover and we're going to have presentations and we'll try to limit them. I think it would bog us down less if we scheduled a special workshop for the budget strategic plan for like in June or something of next year. And we blocked out 2 hours and we hammered it out. And then we could make a draft and then we could come back and probably even approve it in a regular meeting. Or if we needed another special meeting or it needed to go in a small committee for kind of polishing or something. But I think that would really free us up because we've spent 3 different meetings at least pounding on this. And I think other than that, we can schedule things out and we'll work on having presenters stay under the 10-minute guideline and move forward. But is everybody comfortable with that?
Yeah, I think speaking a little selfishly, that I do have things that I have to do at 5:45. Typically today I don't have to. But I think one of the challenges we've had are presenters taking, up to an hour speaking, and I think we need to limit that to, did you mention 10 minutes?
Yes. Yes.
Okay, I have a solution for that.
Okay.
So
yeah.
because I have all this free time on my hand to think, on my hands to think and come up with great ideas. What I'm proposing to the Parks and Arts Commission is a project proposal form. So if there's an interested party that wants to come forward and present something to the commission, and now I would have done it with Winter Glow, but they sort of overlapped me with this. So what they'll do is they'll fill out the form. We have a similar form for program proposal. This is a project proposal. So I'll use the example of Wendy when she came and presented on behalf of the Lions Club. Ideally, what we'll do is I'll receive the form. I will vet the form with the chair. Is this something that would be of interest to the commission, do you think? And so we will ideally bring the form to the commission in a meeting. I'll send it ahead of time so that the commission has a chance to review it, prepare any questions they might have. It's fairly specific. It asks things like, what are you asking of the Parks and Arts Commission? So there's clarity beforehand. What is your project? where's the funding coming from? Is it requiring volunteers? So it gives all kinds of information. That form will come to the commission for discussion. The person submitting the form is welcome to attend that meeting, but there will be no presentation that meeting. The commission will then decide whether to move forward with a presentation at the next meeting. That way, we're not presenting on something that will waste somebody's time or that the commission may not be interested in, or they may not feel it's a good fit. We can discuss that through the project proposal form. And so it's a 2-part, and we have a test situation where the CEC has
Well, it's also, I would think, similar to citizen comments during the city council meeting. How much time are they given? 2 minutes?
3.
3? Okay, well, 3 is very short, but there have been times when, we've tripled the amount of time in a meeting, almost tripled the amount of time because of, of speakers.
Yeah, and that was a challenging situation because we didn't have the presentation ahead of time.
I agree.
We got
I
it the
like
day
your- I
of.
like your idea.
So we'll have it ahead of time and then we'll say if we're gonna move forward, if the commission would like to move forward with this project, with the idea of it, we'll ask the group or person to present at the next meeting with a limit of 10 minutes, 10-minute presentation, 5 minutes for questions. And then that way the commission will already have some background, because I think that it's too much information too fast. And then what do you want of the
We've
commission?
had several come
Yeah,
present
exactly.
that,
Yeah.
just not.
We don't know
prepared to
what,
ask
we don't know what
questions or-
we need
yeah.
to do, or we don't know what's being asked.
No, what about, and I'm gonna use Colleen and Mallory as an example here, since we invited them to come present with that scenario.
That's a little bit
study.
different. No,
Okay.
I think if we invite, that's a little bit different. I still think we could require the 10-minute limit.
Yeah, yeah.
Presentation. They did fantastic today, so
Mhm.
but yeah, if we're asking to have them present, then it limited. That's what we do with council, 10 minutes, and
Okay.
actually I think council's 15, but.
And
then
that's a
I
great
will
idea.
tell you as the chair, once we start this process, we're going through it and they've been informed the 10 minutes. I will time it and I will tell them you have 2 minutes left. So I mean, we just have to keep the show moving.
Yeah.
Because we want to make sure we cover everything. And as long as we're upfront with folks beforehand, I think that's fine.
Well, I like the idea. I think it's more value added both for the presenter and for us as the commission.
Well,
if
and
we
then
know
the
ahead of
commission
time
will,
and know
will go into that presentation with an idea of what
exactly.
is being asked of
Yeah.
them.
Yeah,
No, I
because
think
it's
that's
a
a good
little
idea.
awkward when we don't know
Yeah.
what the ask is.
And if it's not something they want to participate in, that's an awkward time to say no, thank you,
True.
right? You
True.
can nip it at the form phase.
Mhm.
And then I can follow up as staff with feedback to them. Well, this is probably isn't going to be a project that's going to
Yeah.
fit the commission.
Yeah, if it's
And-
not within the scope of
And
our
that's okay,
mission.
you know, so, sorry, I just had to
No,
answer
I
that.
think
Okay,
it's
I
a
like
great,
it.
great point.
We love the forms.
Forms, yes.
Okay, so is everybody comfortable with having a more formatted process and then potentially having a separate budget workshop where we can hammer most of it out? I mean, we still may have a few other little things, but I think by combining all that, we'll be a little bit more successful. And then I think as we create these agendas, because I didn't know if you were gonna have to leave today, so I
No.
specifically split the agenda so that we had the
Appreciate that.
voting
I should have
stuff up
mentioned that to you.
first. So, I mean, we can also look at that if we think it's gonna be a little on the longer side. Okay, great. All right, now we're to our favorite discussion, Pavilion Historical Outlook, and this is where I start calling on Laura all the time.
Quick update. So I haven't received the final draft or dimensions from the Historical Society, but do have an idea of the tentative cost for a design build stand. It was in the neighborhood of 3,000 to 5,000. So we'll be well within budgets. Still hopeful that we can get it through this year. But I'll keep you posted on that.
Okay,
Short and sweet.
all right. And we've done Liberty Lake together, and that's good. So now we're on to the trailhead map update, and there is quite a bit of stuff in your packet about that.
Okay, so my turn again. So we
Yep.
did receive a handful of submissions for the trailhead whimsical map. You'll see it in the packet. I didn't put any of the artists' names on it, but I did break it out by artists. So artist one did 2 different submissions with different color palettes. So that's the yellow and blue, and then the blues, and then the white and blue. Artist 2 was a concept sketch, and then the next 2 artists did not create a concept, but submitted portfolio work for us to consider for their style. So we only have 4 artists that submitted. We can decide to move forward with what we have, or if we wanted to go out again. I actually got fantastic feedback from my meeting with Colleen and Mallory of how we structure our call, that for some artists, it's hard to gauge how much time to put in this. And so what they had suggested, especially probably more so for the larger budgeted items, but even for something like this, if you ask for portfolios, so a request for qualification, and then from that, go through and say, okay, I'm going to have a $200 or $300 stipend. I'm going to pick these 5 artists whose portfolios I like, give them that money, and then ask them to develop a detailed proposal. So that's something to consider moving forward. But again, we do have the 4 artists that submitted, that you have 2 with proposals and 2 with samples of work.
She just thought Pavilion Park was spelled wrong.
Yeah, can we do a spell check?
Yes,
on the
they
final?
probably did do a spell check.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, that's the
But
problem.
yes, no, we would for sure go through that.
Laura, how do you feel about these?
Um,
Without putting you on the spot.
I mean, I really like Artist One, but part of that's because it's a more fully developed proposal where I
yeah.
can see the finished product. Artist Two, there's, I think, a lot of potential in there. I think Artist One kept it very whimsical, which is kind of what we had requested. And then, Three clearly has a lot of experience with map work. That has the Bumbershoot and the Gonzaga campus, Salmon Day, so that artist clearly has a lot of experience with it. So, I mean, I'd say for sure, Artist One and Three, I would be very comfortable moving forward with. Artist Two and Four, I'm not as familiar with.
Well, Artist One is kind of, yeah, I don't know what you put in the call to artist, but it's the most whimsical.
Yeah.
Looking, well, not to say that Artist Three couldn't be whimsical.
Correct.
Did
Yeah.
you just spell Pavilion Park correct?
Yes, we would go through and make sure the spelling.
So are we thinking that this is a separate map that's attached to the wall or painting the
Correct.
wall? Okay.
Well, it can be either, the call was to paint the wall.
Yeah, the paint, remember we had that discussion that can be changed and adjusted.
So,
And added to if we added,
That might be more difficult for something like this to add something to it or change it, my thought. You don't think so? You think it'd be easy? Okay.
yeah, I think just because I know we're gonna be adding art and stuff that I think we'd want to update the map, not redo it, and we'd have to redo it if we do it
if you do a vinyl or even
Yeah.
something mounted, you
So
would have to.
the painting allows us a lot more flexibility.
Okay, okay. I like Artist One, the yellow and the blue.
Yeah.
Personally.
It's very cheap.
I like all three color versions of Artist One. I think they did a great job.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know, Jen, if this is something the Trailhead staff wants to weigh in
I
on.
think it would,
You
it
know,
would be a nice gesture.
it's not so busy that you can't view it and read through it without losing your place.
Yeah, so I mean, at whatever the commission wants to do, I'm happy to, if we wanted to reach out to additional artists or change it to a call for qualifications, or if you feel comfortable moving forward with one.
Yeah. Oh, there's no library. There's no library. Well, this is just a draft.
Okay.
It's a draft,
Okay.
and
Okay.
now that I'm thinking about it, though, I'd have to go back and look at our call,
How did you
make sure
spot
that.
that so quick?
I don't know. Yeah, I mean, clearly, we maybe need to make sure, before we actually ask them to do it, we probably need to review our list again.
These are all drafts
Yeah.
format,
Mm-hmm.
so color palettes can be adjusted. Items that are or are not included can be adjusted, so this is just the beginning proposal.
Yeah, I mean,
And so that further issue, this particular artist was very clear that further work would be
Yeah.
done on it.
I love the work from Artist One. I like what I would call the first two colors, the darker blue. It's hard to see the writing. But I don't think we need to go back out. We have people that can do the work here.
Yeah, I also like Artist One's second concept sketches.
Oh,
Yeah, so the cost artwork is different, but again, colors can be adjusted. So if you said, hey, we really like the yellow and blue, but we like concept two, there's a lot of flexibility in there. And again, I do think having the Trailhead staffs, let them see it and maybe weigh in on the palette.
do you have any idea of artist availability, or because we really do want to get this project done this year?
Yes, and that was indicated in the call. So the artist has availability and felt that I'd have to go back and look. So if we're just talking Artist One, I know there was availability and I believe like a 1 to 2 week timeline to complete. but I would have to just reach back out and verify and then see what pockets of schedule availability there are before the end of the year. I do know in general, though, the ones that I've talked to, having it indoors, allows better, better
Yes.
options in
Either
terms of
rain
the
or snow,
availability.
there's
Yeah,
sleet or-
exactly. There's no weather implications that would affect the schedule.
So what do you need from us? Are you
Um,
asking us to be the selection committee or?
Yeah, because it was such a small submission pool, we
Mm.
talked about not doing a selection committee, but just bringing it to the commission for that selection. So Jen, I don't know if you want to weigh in on that, if you feel like we should still go through a selection process or.
My recommendation would be to, take it to council, through the report that this is what we're proposing, just for their support.
The artist that we're
Yeah,
recommending.
and I would recommend getting support from the trailhead staff, from Chris Johnston.
Okay.
Simply because they take a lot of ownership and pride in that building, and we would want them to support it
Absolutely.
as well. Yeah,
So I guess whichever concept we decide we want to recommend, I'm happy to reach out to Chris and share it with him and make sure that they're on board and then.
yeah, see what council says at the report on the 20th, August 20th meeting.
I personally like artist one and the first concepts, sketches.
And I would recommend at that meeting, just asking them, do you have any feedback about us moving forward with this particular artist? That would give them an opportunity for comments and maybe some conversation.
Laura, I mean, today, could we just simply select an artist and then we could drill down more on the concept after you maybe talk to Trailhead?
Yeah, if we say we want to move forward with artist one, I can set up a meeting or just communicate with Chris and see what their feedback is on the different concepts from that artist and then move, and we can still, I believe, right, Jen, move forward with a recommendation of support from council
Mhm.
before executing an artist agreement or
Yeah.
doing any of that.
Well, I agree with you, Laura, that Artist 3 definitely has the skill and the potential to tackle this project. I think they've done really, really lovely work. I especially like the Issaquah Salmon Days poster that shows me that they can take this a little more whimsical. I would be excited to see what they could produce. But I think artist number 1 gave us the most complete proposal as far as what we were asking for.
Okay. John, what are your thoughts? Let's just go around.
I agree with that. I really like that Issaquah Salmon Days poster, but the first one with the yellow and the blue really caught my eye, and that's what I actually kept going back to. So I think that's what I would prefer is artist 1.
Also like artist 1, the yellow and blue. I think it really stands out and looks really fun, draws you back to all the fun activities we can do here. So I would vote for that one.
Programming. Oh, okay.
Well, I like number 1 too, because I think it's an easy read. With some of these others are so busy, that it's hard to pick out some of the things they're trying to show. So it's simple and the colors and everything work.
Okay.
I do like number 1. I think this is probably the most accurate of what we requested and what we're looking for.
Okay. Well, sounds like everyone's leaning towards artist 1, and if someone wants to make a motion to move forward with that, and then Laura can contact Trailhead. We can put together a presentation for council with their work. It doesn't have to be the final project, just an idea, and then once we get their thumbs up, then we can go ahead and execute the agreement.
I'll
So
go ahead and do that. I move that we recommend artist number one concept sketch, which is the yellow background with the blue writing for the consideration for the trailhead art wall.
I second that.
just for clarification purposes, weren't we just gonna do the artist, not pick out the item
Correct.
from the artist?
We're recommending the artist for Trailhead.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I'll restate that
Okay,
motion.
thank you.
I retract my first motion, so restate that. I recommend that we go with artist number one that provided the concept sketch with the yellow and the blue.
And Bob, you seconded that?
Yes.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded that we go with artist one. Laura will go ahead and drill down on that. And then we'll present to council for approval before executing agreement. And then I'm assuming getting some kind of a final kind of idea of the colors and different things that make sure we get all the items on there. So is there any discussion on that motion? All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right, the motion is passed. Moving on, John, you asked for the garden contest to be on the agenda. Go ahead.
Sure. For the Garden of the Year contest, I've distributed 15 posters, and actually they were very enthusiastic about the project. I was surprised there was only one business who said no, which I was actually kind of surprised at the business that said no. So, but that's okay. But the others were very enthusiastic, and it's 3 categories: residential, business, and container division. And it ends August 20th, so it's coming right up. But everybody can submit at least 10 photos of your of the content of your garden, no more than 10, and then we'll get together a group who can judge the submissions, and we'll award the we'll just do like we did last time, presenting paper certificates, acknowledging their, first, second, third, basically.
So were you working with the library on this? Is that what I
Yes.
remember?
Yes.
Okay.
And let's see, I think that's, yeah, I know on the library website, they have the poster of the competition. Michaela put it there. I don't know, is it on the city website? Oh. Okay.
Okay. Any questions for John? All right. Katie, you're up next with our Bike Pedestrian Safety Advisory Committee report, and I think you passed out something on the table
Yeah.
for us.
And Jen said that she would send that out in our minutes for the next meeting, just so you guys have it.
Mm.
Everyone has one that,
It should have been on top of your file.
Or
She got it.
you'll email me that,
there's
Katie?
another one. Yeah, I'm gonna
Laura
email
needs
it to Jen. So basically, we had our first meeting, and it's gonna be the last Monday of the month at 8:30 a.m. at New Love Coffee in River District. And so we had a good group that got together, and we have one of our city council members also, Dan, that's gonna report back to city council on things that we might, so he's kind of our city council liaison. And so basically, we just talked about all the different parts of a bike-friendly community that the application that I had put in earlier at the National Bike League website. And we developed kind of some priorities. First of all, we want to develop a master plan for bike and pedestrian safety with a city engineer once we have a city engineer.
Public Works
Or
Director.
Public Works
Yeah.
Director, either one, yeah. So that's kind of really important. And then we talked about designing safe roads, painted pathways, Cheryl lane markings, and signage. So we're really gonna focus on the, like, the overpasses between the north and south end of Liberty Lake, how they connect to pathways. So a lot of people get over the highway and then are confused of the safe way to get their bike to their next street. So there's some things we can do there, like painting green pathways and different things that other cities have done that are fairly simple, but we're gonna really organize and outline that with various experts. And we have a lot of people that are interested in, biking around and making sure we pick the priority areas. Also around the busier streets, like, where Home Depot is, and maybe around the grocery stores and that kind of thing, where people want to get in and out and safely on their bikes. So for recreation and transportation, to make sure it's safe. So anyway, that's kind of the basic focus at this point, and we will do a lot of research and recommend, in the next few months, we'll recommend what would be the best. And I'll bring it here, and then we can recommend it to city council.
Awesome. I mean, you have a great committee makeup there.
Yeah, and we're hoping to get more too.
Yeah.
so.
Exciting. Well, thanks for taking the lead on that and for
Yeah.
fitting 80 people with bike helmets.
It's exciting, and it's fun to, really try to make something positive happen and keep people safe. So.
Okay, that goes to the art club. That was, I think I mentioned, or you may have heard, there's a new fund called Liberty Lake Better Together. And Bob, you were there. We went to the kickoff at Trailbreaker, and on their suggestion form, when I found out they were, were collecting donations or were wanting to do projects in Liberty Lake, I wrote on the form, it might be good to collaborate with us because maybe they would want to buy art or bike lanes or I don't know what. They're working through Inovia, and there's already some matching funds available. And I had left my email, and Kyla Scott emailed me, and she said they've already gotten some kind of $10,000 grant, and they're going to be working with kids and art, and they're actually going to have an event at Pavilion Park for pre-K through third grade at 3:45 to 5:15, and she wanted to make us aware and that she was looking forward to potentially collaborating with us on projects. And I was just looking at my calendar, and I realized that's the day we probably need to move our meeting to. She was hoping that a commissioner or two might want to attend the event and have a presence there. They have some art teachers and some volunteers, and these pre-K through third grade are going to be creating art. That's the 9th. But we do have on our agenda, and we might as well talk about it while we're talking about this. Our September meeting is on Labor Day. So I'm guessing we're not going to have it that day. And typically we move it to the next Monday, which would be the 9th at 4, which would conflict with that. I mean, I can always tell her, and I think I already said we might have a conflict with the meeting, but we do want to work with this group, I think, because they might, have some money to help fund a program or a special project that involves some kind of public art or some way of engaging the community. So I just wanted to make you aware of that, and we'll see how this goes as unfolds. And they're in the very beginning stages. I guess an anonymous donor through Inovia was going to match up to $12,500 through the end of the year. So assuming if the community steps up there, they'll start next year with $25,000.
Wow.
And this $10,000 for this was a grant that this fund received. So it's a very dedicated group of people. It appeared to me from the kickoff, and they are really interested in investing in the community in various ways, including things like that we're focused on. So anyway, I just wanted to make you aware, and I guess we can decide, do we want to move our September 2nd meeting to September 9th, or do you want to do a different day? I don't know. I don't, it's not overly critical we attend this, obviously. And
I'd like to move it to the 9th.
Okay. Does that, before we vote on it, can everybody check their calendars and that looks reasonable?
Nancy, do you know what time their event is that evening?
It's 3:45 to 5:15 at Pavilion Park. Did they make
Ah.
reservation? Oh, they're not using the shelter, okay.
I'm sorry, I'm gonna be in New York, so I won't be back, but I'll try to attend by Zoom. My middle son and his wife just had a baby, so
Oh,
they
grandma
sent me a ticket to come visit.
oh. Well,
Do we need a motion to change that, Jen? The date?
Yes, please.
I go ahead and move that we change the September meeting from the 2nd to the 9th, 4 p.m.
okay.
I'll second.
Thank you, Noel. Moved and seconded to move our September meeting from the 2nd to the 9th. Any discussion? We'll miss you, Katie, but maybe Zoom.
Okay.
All in favor?
Hi.
Bye.
Opposed? Please show the motion has passed unanimously. And now we're to the staff report. I know you left us something, Jen?
Yes, super quick. And I have to say, it's a record tonight. We had 7 items voted on in one meeting.
Whoa.
Never happened.
Yeah, it's what?
7 items voted on tonight in today's meeting. That's never
How
happened.
efficient we are.
That is functional right
I
there.
was just gonna say that. Look how efficient we are.
Oh, record, new record. All right, so real quick, the only thing, you can all read this, the only thing that's really new and different. We'll give an update on the pavilion playground stickers at the post-it note
Yeah,
at the next meeting.
correct.
The future funding, that is the 1% discussion. Council, just for those of you who may not know, council did mention having a future discussion, a future workshop on that with us. So this is not the first time it's been mentioned from library's perspective. The council is also interested in having that discussion as a workshop. And then meeting, if somebody would volunteer so kindly to provide the Parks and Arts report on August 20th, I would love a volunteer.
I can't be with that.
August 20th. I'm in town that day. I'm just barely back, but I'm in.
And that will be the day we present the art mural or the art wrap for Trailhead 2.
Oh,
Sure, yeah,
Oh,
for council support.
I will try to attend.
otherwise you will brief me.
Yes, I will try to attend. I have something, but I think I can.
And I will work on how I'm going to approach council with the $10,000 invoice from Winter Glow plus the 2% or 20%. I'm not quite sure how to do that. So we may introduce that on the 20th, but I also may try to take it to council on the 20th. So I'm not quite sure yet. I need a little
You want
advice
us
from
to
other
include
staff.
that in the report? We can do
Yeah,
a whole slide on it.
absolutely, absolutely. And whether or not I have it on the agenda that night, we may want to introduce it first. And then I'll put it on the first September meeting for approval, so they have time to
Okay.
process it. Yeah.
I'll kind of put together a rough list of slides based on our thing, and we can tell them
Yeah.
we submitted our budget.
Yeah.
I don't think they would get the details of it at a budget meeting, correct?
Yes, yes, I will submit. So once this document is finalized here, it's still draft. It will then be submitted in the entire budget packet in September and included in the mayor's budget for presentation.
I just made me think of a question, because when the budget discussion, the council budget discussion actually happens, I know from when I was employed that departments would
Yeah,
have a chance.
we haven't done that.
Oh, Because I wondered if we could explain our budget, or that's not a process, part of the process.
So it will be highlighted. The public art has its own page in the mayor's budget that has highlights on it. So it does get just, I can send that out to the commission too.
Okay.
Just so you can see what it looks like in the budget. And we can put some notes in there as to what's new and different this year to highlight the 2025 budget.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I will do the 20th meeting if you can join me. If not, we'll just talk and I'll make sure I know what to say. And work on slides and
And that's
anything-
really all I have.
That's really all
Yeah.
you have. All right. Anything else?
Yeah, Jen, thank you to you and the crew.
The
For
crew
all
was
the help
awesome.
for Barefoot.
Yeah,
I know
crew
it's
did
a
that.
huge undertaking. The humidity was probably the worst I've ever felt it
Yeah.
in 30 years. Unbelievable. But it was a great day, and I know that your crew was running around like crazy.
My crew, and
Along with
thanks to
Mikkel,
Mikkel,
like,
oh
you
my
know,
gosh,
running
Mikkel was
hill to hill.
in all my years, yes, it's amazing lightening of my load, and for me, physically, I couldn't handle the hours that I'm used to. I'm used to being there 12 hours. I made it like 7 hours Saturday, and I was done physically, and he was there, and it was fantastic.
I know Mikhail and I talked briefly about, and you and I talked about that briefly also, about getting a way to promote the pavilion events
Yes.
more to the crowd.
Yes.
So other than me getting on the
Yeah.
microphone and screaming at everybody.
And this was the first year that truly, we've tried to program the stage every year and just haven't had the capacity to pour energy into it. And Mikkel did that this year, and we are already talking about next year. So,
Right.
yeah, it's only gonna get better.
When
Awesome.
you work on it,
Yes.
can you get better weather?
You hear
And blue sky, right, David?
that? Humidity was
Oh, I think we lucked out. I'm so happy it was overcast rather than 105 and just heat bearing down on us. But yes, David, thank you for saying that. I was going to say the same thing. Huge thanks to you, Jen and Mikhail. I couldn't have imagined a more successful Saturday. It was great.
Thank you. We'll share that with the crew as well.
All right. Do we have a
you.
motion?
I moved to adjourn.
A second.
All in favor?
Hi.
Bye.
Okay, we're adjourned. Thanks, everyone. I know this was a marathon, but we got a lot done.
Can't believe it.